Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we talk about vinyl records. I want to thank all you guys for watching the videos, putting in your comments. Keep them coming. We like to hear what you guys have to say. Now, in last week's episode, we talked about albums that have great opening tracks. And if you haven't seen that video yet, you can watch it up here. This week, we're going the other way with albums that have great closing tracks. So I picked 10 albums out of my collection that I feel like have great closing tracks. Closing tracks so good that you just want to flip the album over and listen to it again. So these are in no particular order. First one I picked is probably the most obvious one from the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Might not be able to see that good. This is a picture disc. From Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, of course, the closing track on this album is A Day in the Life, a classic McCartney-Lennon composition here. One of their greatest songs, or one of the greatest songs, not just of theirs, but of anyone. And a true Lennon-McCartney composition. You can tell that you can kind of tell which parts are John's and which parts are Paul's. And then they've got that great orchestra mayhem that takes place in the middle. It's a classic album, and Day in the Life, great album closer, great way to end the album. Another classic album closer, maybe another one that you might have thought of first, from Prince's Purple Rain album, the title track, Purple Rain. Great song, the awesome chord progression, that just the effect that's on the guitar sounds amazing. The lyrics are great, that epic solo at the end. Of course, Prince is just a master guitar player, great songwriter, great singer, great performer. There's nothing he couldn't do. And this got me thinking, most title tracks are the opening song on the album. Purple Rain being the title track that's the closer of an album. I was trying to think of other albums where the title track is the closer, and the only one I could think of off the top of my head was The Soft Parade by The Doors. So let me know. I'm sure you guys can come up with some. If you can think of some albums where the title track is the last song, let me know. That's kind of just a cool little thing, I guess. Up next, from Pink Floyd's Animals album, the closer here is Pigs on the Wing Part 2. Of course, Pigs on the Wing Part 1 opens the album. So it's bookended with Pigs on the Wing. And I thought about going with Brain Damage and Eclipse, that close Dark Side of the Moon. That's also a great closer. If you prefer that one over Pigs on the Wing, I can't blame you on that. That's also a great closer. What I like about Pigs on the Wing, though, for closing, the side 2 of this album is so intense, so awesome, overwhelming almost, that Pigs on the Wing, it feels like a perfect closer. They kind of let you down easy. It gets nice and mellow there at the end, and it's just a great way to close off the album. Up next, from the Super Suckers Must Have Been High album. Now, what's interesting about this is that the closing track is not even listed on the credits here. The name of the closing track on this album is The Super Sucker Drive-By Blues. On the CD I've got, it's just a hidden track that's after the last song on the album, and it's not even listed. But fortunately on the vinyl they threw it on here, just didn't put the title. But what's great about it is this is a sort of a little countryish, little country rock album, and that's not who the Super Suckers are. They are a rock band, and this album just has a lot of acoustic rock songs. And the Super Sucker Drive-By Blues, what's great about it is it starts acoustic and bluesy, and then when it kicks in with the electric guitars, it's just amazing. It's awesome guitar solos, funny lyrics, great way to close the album. Super Suckers Must Have Been High, great album. Another classic album closer from Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory album. Of course, the closing track on here is Champagne Supernova, an epic album closer. It's a 7.5 minute long song, but great song, great album. Some great guitar playing on there. Noel Gallagher's a great songwriter. It's one of their, they've got a lot of great songs. It's one of their more famous songs though, Champagne Supernova. Big hit off this album. It's a great album here, and all the songs are great. That's a great track to finish the album with, Champagne Supernova. It starts off slow and gets epic. Another great closer from Kiss, Dressed to Kill album here. And of course, the closer on here is Rock and Roll All Night. I'm sure all of you know that one. Maybe Kiss's most famous song. Maybe not. But I think the version that most people probably know is from the Kiss Alive album. And that live version is a little bit faster, I think. I don't know. The version on here sounds about the same. This is just the studio version of Rock and Roll All Night. Great song. Great album closer. Classic track. Here's another classic album. Jimi Hendrix. The Jimi Hendrix Experience. Electric Ladyland album. And, of course, the closing track on here is Voodoo Child, Slight Return. Epic guitar riff. That wah-wah pedal. You guys all know, you know that riff. And All Along the Watchtowers, the song before it, leads into Voodoo Child, so you get a little bonus, a 1-2 punch there at the end of the album. But Voodoo Child, Slight Return, great way to end a great album. This is a great double album here. Voodoo Child, Slight Return, epic riff, epic song to end a great album with. Another one of my favorite album closers from Aerosmith's Toys in the Attic album. Of course, the closer on here is You See Me Crying, which one of my favorite Aerosmith songs. This album's more well known for Walk This Way, Sweet Emotion. There's a lot of hits on this record, but the closer of You See Me Crying is it's one of my favorites. It's an all-time great. It's so well written, interesting chord progression. It's just a wonderful song. It's a great song. If you aren't familiar with it, give it a listen. You See Me Crying. Great song. Great album closer. Really good way to end the album. Another classic album closer here. Maybe another one that you guys thought of early. Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses. Of course, the closing track on here being Rocket Queen. One of my favorite Guns N' Roses songs, and definitely a great album closer. Of course, this whole album is great. It's one of the probably, I think, one of the best-selling albums of all time here, and rightly so. But to end with Rocket Queen, it's just such a great riff, and that slide guitar solo, and it builds up, and then after the solo, it almost turns into a ballad a little bit, and then the guitar solo comes back. It's just a great way to end the album. Epic song. One of my favorite Guns N' Roses songs. And finally, we're already up to number 10. I know, if you watched last week's video, you know this same album, the Rolling Stones' Let It Bleed, was on that list for having a great opening track, which it does. And I didn't want to put it on this list too, but I couldn't leave it off because the closing track on here is also epic. You can't always get what you want. It's just such a great song. Starting off with the boys' choir, the acoustic guitar and the French horn come in, and it's just so mournful. And the lyrics are great. And it builds up to epic at the end. It's just, turns into a gospel song almost at the end. I just love it. It's a great closing track. One of the all-time great closing tracks. And, of course, a great opener, a great closer. Every song in between is great, too. This is a great album right here. If it's not already in your collection, it should be. So, anyway, there's my pick for 10 albums that have great closing tracks on them. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. We love hearing what you guys think. You guys always have good opening tracks, good closing tracks. You guys always have good suggestions that we didn't think about, so let us know in the comments because we love hearing about it. We'll be back next week. We put out videos every week where we talk about vinyl records, so we'll be back next week with another one. Thanks for watching.